Count 9, criminal use of personal ID. Count 10, probation violation. That's what the judge hit Shawn Kingston with. The same guy behind Beautiful Girls is now facing decades behind bars. And his own mom is caught up too. From million-dollar scams to a shocking jail attack, this isn't just a fall from grace. It's a crash no one saw coming. What happened behind those prison walls? How did it all go so wrong? Let's break it down. Back in 2007, Shawn Kingston wasn't just another up-and-coming artist. He was a global sensation. At only 17, he dropped Beautiful Girls, a track that instantly became a summer anthem. It topped the Billboard Hot 100, hit #1 in countries like the UK, Canada, and Australia, and launched Kingston into instant stardom. People loved his smooth blend of reggae, pop, and hip-hop, and it felt like he had the world in his hands. His debut album went gold, selling over 500,000 copies. Follow-up singles like Me Love and Take You There cemented his place as a certified hitmaker. He had the voice, the charm, and the story. Raised between Miami and Jamaica, Kingston seemed like the definition of a self-made star. His youthful energy and global appeal made him a household name almost overnight. Even after a life-threatening jet ski accident in 2011 left him in critical condition, he bounced back. Fans rooted for him. He had the kind of second chance most artists dream of. But instead of building on his success, something shifted.
Behind the luxury lifestyle and celebrity charm, Shawn Kingston and his mom Janice Turner were running a con game that could rival a Hollywood heist film. Between April 2023 and March 2024, the mother-son duo allegedly finessed high-end vendors out of more than $1 million worth of goods and services. Their method? Slick, strategic, and shockingly effective. It all started with Kingston using his fame to build instant trust. He'd reach out to vendors, jewelers, car dealers, electronics companies, and name-drop past collaborations with artists like Justin Bieber. He made it sound like money wasn't a problem. After all, he was Shawn Kingston, right? Once vendors were convinced, Janice Turner stepped in. She handled the logistics, placing orders, organizing deliveries, even sending fake wire transfer receipts that looked legit. The vendors, assuming payment was already processing, shipped out the goods before the cash cleared. By the time they realized the transfers were bogus, Kingston and Turner were long gone, with the merchandise in hand. According to court documents, the stolen items weren't small-time stuff. A $480,000 custom jewelry order, a bulletproof Cadillac Escalade worth $160,000, luxury mattresses and beds, and a jaw-dropping 232-inch LED television. They pulled this play on multiple victims, using a repeatable formula. Kingston opened.
By the spring of 2024, law enforcement had seen enough. The paper trail, the fake receipts, the stolen luxury items, it all added up. And when the feds moved in, they didn't hold back. May 2024, it went down like something out of a Netflix crime series. A SWAT team raided Shawn Kingston's South Florida mansion, storming the property with weapons drawn. Inside, they found Janice Turner and arrested her on the spot. She was calm, almost like she had done this before, which, as we'd later learn, wasn't far from the truth. At the same time, Kingston himself was across the country, performing at Fort Irwin, California. As soon as the show ended, authorities were waiting. No time to pack, no press release. He was taken into custody and booked at San Bernardino County Jail before being extradited back to Florida. Once in Broward County, the legal hammer came down hard. The courtroom was packed, cameras rolled. The judge read out the charges one by one like a rap sheet straight out of a criminal drama. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud, multiple counts of grand theft, criminal use of personal identification, insufficient funds checks, and a probation violation, just to top it off. 10 charges in total.
And when the judge looked at Janice Turner, he didn't hold back. She was labeled the operator, fixer, and accountant of the entire scheme, with her past criminal history used as grounds to deny her bail. Kingston, on the other hand, was placed on house arrest with an ankle monitor, confined to his home while the legal process moved forward.
As if the million-dollar fraud wasn't enough, the courtroom revelations didn't stop at the current charges. It turns out both Shawn Kingston and his mother, Janice Turner, had a long history of legal trouble, and this wasn't even close to their first run-in with the law. Let's start with Janice. Back in 2006, Turner pleaded guilty to bank fraud, having stolen over $160,000 through fake loan applications. She served around 16 months in federal prison and was released in 2007. Ironically, the same year, Kingston dropped Beautiful Girls and became a star. So while her son was climbing the charts, she was quietly finishing a prison sentence. Fast forward nearly 2 decades, and here she is again, this time accused of running the books and handling logistics for a fraud scheme nearly 7 times bigger. It wasn't just a relapse, it looked like she'd perfected her playbook. As for Kingston, he was already on probation when the recent fraud happened. In October 2023, he was sentenced to 2 years probation for trafficking stolen property. That means when he and his mom were out finessing vendors in early 2024, he was already on paper. Violating that probation added yet another layer of legal risk, and it made it harder to argue he was just caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the civil stuff? It's worse than people realize. Between 2015 and 2022, Kingston was sued multiple times for failing to pay for luxury items, especially watches and jewelry. The total judgments against him? Over $1 million. These weren't criminal cases, but they painted a picture: financial recklessness, shady deals, and unpaid debts. It's like the fraud case was the natural endpoint of years of bad decisions finally catching up. And just when you think it couldn't get messier, there's a whole other controversy that nearly destroyed Kingston's image a decade earlier, something he's never fully escaped.
Even before the fraud charges, Shawn Kingston's image had already taken a major hit. In 2010, during the height of his fame, a serious allegation surfaced, one that would follow him for over a decade. After a Justin Bieber concert in Seattle, a woman named Carissa Capolato accused Kingston, his bodyguard, and a band member of sexual assault in a hotel room. The case shook fans and the industry. At the time, Kingston denied everything and said the encounter was completely consensual. The criminal charges were eventually dropped, largely due to inconsistencies in the accuser's statements. But in 2013, Capolato came back with a civil lawsuit demanding $5 million in damages. The case didn't go to trial. Kingston settled out of court for an undisclosed amount. He later claimed it was only to avoid distractions during his tour and album release. But the damage was done. The timing couldn't have been worse. The allegations hit just as Kingston released his 3rd album, Back to Life, a project that flopped commercially and failed to chart. Fans were skeptical. Promoters got cold feet. And Kingston, once a pop darling, found himself facing backlash and canceled gigs. Fast forward to 2023, and the past still wasn't behind him. Student groups at the University of Denver successfully pushed to have him removed from a music fest lineup, citing the old allegations as grounds for protest. It showed just how lasting the impact had been. In a candid interview on The Breakfast Club, Kingston addressed the situation. "If I really did something like that, I'd be in prison, right? I knew I was innocent, but it hurt."
At one point, Shawn Kingston seemed untouchable. He had a platinum hit, a major label deal, and collaborations with some of the biggest names in music. But after the allegations and legal setbacks, his career didn't just stall, it went into a full nosedive. His second album, Tomorrow 2009, didn't match the success of his debut, despite featuring the club hit Fire Burning. Then came 2013's Back to Life, which barely made a splash. The lead single, Beat It, featuring Chris Brown and Wiz Khalifa, showed potential but couldn't carry the album. The project failed to chart on the Billboard 200, a stark contrast to his earlier work. It would also be his last release on a major label. From there, it got quiet, really quiet. No new albums, no major singles, no real buzz. At the same time, Kingston's name kept popping up for all the wrong reasons. Between 2015 and 2022, he was sued multiple times over unpaid luxury watches and jewelry. Over $1 million in civil judgments stacked up, reinforcing the image of someone living large but never paying the bill. In one of the more bizarre twists, a 2024 lawsuit claimed Kingston falsely said he was working with Justin Bieber on promotional content, even though they hadn't collaborated since 2010's Eeny Meeny. The plaintiff said Kingston used that lie to get luxury watches he never paid for. The whole thing sounded desperate, like a former star clinging to past glory. The music industry noticed. Bookings dried up. Collaborators distanced themselves. And with each lawsuit or scandal, his comeback window closed just a little more. By the time his fraud case made headlines in 2025, as of mid-2025, Shawn Kingston isn't just out of the spotlight, he's under house arrest, strapped with an ankle monitor, and unable to perform, record, or travel without strict court approval. The freedom he once enjoyed as a globe-trotting artist is now gone. He posted a $500,000 home bond plus $200,000 in cash, but the real price has been his career. Most of Kingston's income came from live shows and appearances, and now those gigs are off the table. He even filed a motion asking to perform at Summerfest in Milwaukee, claiming it was a legitimate way to earn income before sentencing. But with the court weighing flight risk and his past violations, approval was uncertain. Meanwhile, his mother, Janice Turner, remains in federal custody. The judge called her the operator, fixer, and accountant behind the fraud and denied her bail due to her long criminal history. The court made it clear this was not some petty scam. It was a calculated operation with serious consequences. Kingston now faces 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and 4 counts of wire fraud, with each count carrying up to 20 years in federal prison. Even if the judge opts for concurrent sentencing, he could be looking at a decade or more behind bars. Financially, things are grim. His net worth reportedly dropped to around $400,000 in 2024, a far cry from his peak. Lawsuits, unpaid debts, and legal fees have chipped away at his fortune. Even though he still racks up 18 million monthly listeners on Spotify, that number means very. With his sentencing around the corner, fans and industry insiders are asking the same question. Is there any way back for Shawn Kingston? Can the guy who gave us beautiful girls ever reclaim even a piece of the spotlight? Or is this truly the end of the road? On paper, the odds don't look great. Kingston is facing serious time. If the judge imposes even a partial sentence, he could spend years behind bars, effectively erasing what little momentum he has left. And even if he gets a lighter sentence, probation, or a short stint, the damage to his reputation, credibility, and trust within the music industry might be impossible to undo. But there are artists who've come back from legal trouble. Lil Wayne served time and bounced back. Others, like R. Kelly, didn't. The difference often comes down to public perception, the nature of the charges, and the artist's willingness to accept responsibility. In Kingston's case, the charges involve fraud and deception, not violence. That could matter to some fans. And while the court documents paint a damning picture, he's still only 35, young enough to attempt